Well, again, everyone, it's Steve Tolan, and here we are with another episode of Change the Game, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Michelle Lee. Michelle, how are you?
Great, Steve, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to steal Michelle's thunder. I'm going to let her do an introduction herself in a second. I am so delighted to have someone with Michelle's story, someone, just the mindset, someone that pushes beyond limits. And I'll let her tell her story in a second, but I think it's safe to say after the day I've had, 300 days on the ocean by myself with no Wi-Fi, etc. sounds absolutely fantastic. So, Michelle, please welcome, and I would love you to, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, my name's Michelle Lee. I live in Dural, and I'm 53, turning 54. And in 2018, I decided that I would row the Atlantic Ocean. So not being a rower, not being elite, and not an athlete, wasn't a seafaring goer or anything like that. I wasn't a born adventurer, but I had adventure in my spirit that was just waiting to bust out. So thanks to a book called Rowing the Atlantic, it inspired me to row the Atlantic. And that was in 2016 when I decided that I was going to row the Atlantic. I rang my bestie. I said, Claudie, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to row the Atlantic. She said, hey, honey, how are you going to do that? Well, that meant, building a boat. There were no boats for sale in Australia. Of course, I had to learn to row. Then I had to get all of the tickets in order to be a seafaring goer. And then, of course, get to the start line. So, this is the hardest part, I always say, in any of these events. It's the journey getting to the start line. And by the time you get there and you sit your ass in that seat, you have earned it, because I had to work so hard. There were so many setbacks, so many challenges, which were all so worth it. They all had valuable lessons that I had to learn, and learn the hard way sometimes, throw yourself in. It's about commitment. So just committing. I committed fully without any hesitation, without any friction, without any contradiction. It was just, I am going to row the Atlantic Ocean. And it sounded crazy, even to me, as I repeated it to people, and they're like, oh, so you're a rower? No. Oh, you got a boat? No. Oh, how you read a book? And they start thinking you're a bit crazy. I had a dream, I read a book, I'm going to row the ocean. So that is where it began. 2 oceans later, the rest is history.
Okay, wow. I've done some crazy things in my time. One of them was my wife said to me when I had a boxing match, age 44. But rowing the Atlantic is a little, it's next level, right? It's next level. So take us back, because I know that you said, your life kind of growing up, etc. You're working in banking, you had a corporate job. So give us a little bit just of your background, and just kind of lead us up to what life was like before you kind of decided to go on this epic journey.
I mean, it was predictable, comfortable, cruisy. It was, when I sat down and really analysed it, it was safe and boring. And I thought, God, is this as good as it gets? So I did 12 years of banking, left school in year 10, 16 years old, wanted to join the Navy. My mother said, I was 3 months too young to join the Navy. She said, well, you better go and get a job. You're not sitting around here for 3 months. So enter corporate banking. Cruisy, comfortable, all of that sort of stuff. Stayed there for 12 years. In that time, lived overseas for 4 years, backpacked for 9 months around Europe. And then, came back to Australia and thought, okay, there's got to be more to this than this corporate world, which I was beginning to love to hate. It's not a good way to start the day, So then I thought, okay, find a passion, and I decided that I should be a massage therapist. So I went and got my diploma, and then, best move I ever made was stepping out of corporate, following my passion, following my heart, something that I felt that I was good at just naturally. The power of touch and the healing of someone's hands on your body. I discovered that during my corporate days when people were saying, Michelle, I've got a headache, can you come and fix it? And I was just doing head and neck, shoulder massages in the workplace thinking, oh, there's got to be something in this, And then I see cars next to me with corporate massage. I'm like, oh my God. So, these little, you get these little tiny breadcrumbs that seem to come, I guess, when you're alert and you're on the lookout for change. And that's what was happening. So I went with it. I surrendered to it, and I took voluntary retrenchment. Became a massage therapist, personal trainer, self-employed for the next 20 years. and decided come age 38 that my marriage that I was in, well, we'd kind of just come to the end of the road. Everything has the end of an innings, everything has an expiry date, and while it was all beautiful and very civil, it was just the end, you know, so new chapters. So we amicably agreed to go separate ways, and to this day I can still say Shane is the most kindest, thoughtful man that I have ever known. Very proud of that. And then from that moment is when I really started to say, I'm just going to say yes to opportunity. So that was my big thing. I am just going to shake this life up and say yes to whatever comes. So that saw me doing Kokoda. I did the Kokoda Trail with my training buddies. That gave me a taste of the whole pushing boundaries, human potential, my own personal potential, pushing past and beyond my comfort zone, finding myself in uncomfortable, uncertain situations, and I thrived in that. So during the training and everything that led up to being on day one of the track, I learned how much I enjoyed it, the discipline and everything, and the routine that it brought to my life, the accountability, and then of course that leads to, you know, wanting more, because it is addictive. That's my warning to everybody. It's very addictive when you're starting to really ask, what am I capable of, and you're busting through ceilings, I guess, you know, you're busting old belief systems and patterns and talk. You're now circulating in different groups that show you that this is possible. You know, reading a book that said you can row an ocean, and I just said to myself, well, if she can, I can. Yeah. So I just started to rebuild my whole paradigm and self-belief system. And the Kokoda Trail led to my first solo holiday. That led me to accepting an opportunity to go and live on a boat in the Bahamas. 4 weeks turned into 2 years. And then, thanks to that opportunity of living on an ocean, yep, I got handed the book Rowing the Atlantic, and I was just, now hungry for new stuff. I was open, I was like a sponge, I was receptive, I was alert, and it was easy to make that decision.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack, and I love it. The minute I met you, and thank you Phil McDonald who made the introduction, and I completely understand why now. But what was the moment that you realised I'm meant for more, or I want more? Like, what was? Because there must be a lot of people kind of thinking, can I do more? Can I be capable? And I'm one of those. I don't settle for just status quo. I'm going to go for something. I'd rather kind of die trying, or say I tried something and I failed. But not everyone's got that mindset, have they?
No, I think a lot of people are on autopilot, and they're just in the queue, and they just accept that this is my lot, and that's what we do. And I was that person, don't forget, But I think the day that I sat down and I just analysed my life, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so predictable. I knew the conversations I was going to have with the people on the table. I knew how much money I was going to earn each week. And I just thought, if this is as good as it gets, I am done. So in that moment, it's like, well, what are you going to do about it, Michelle? Sit here, whinge, bitch and moan? Or are you going to fucking shake shit up? And that's when I got that thing, new me. Take off your blinkers, open your eyes, and just say yes. So that was the whole moment for me. It was that just looking at my current status, which was nice. I did nice things. I have a great circle of friends, but it wasn't enough. It was not enough.
Okay. And so you got the book, you read the book. Talk us through that kind of process, right? Because I get lots of mental ideas to say, white collar boxing when I was 44, and everyone thought I was nuts, but I did it. And what was that like, kind of going through the process? Because I know if it was me, when I did the boxing, I sought counsel off people. And unfortunately, most of them were like, just do it. And I was like, shit. I'm waiting for someone to say, are you crazy? But talk us through that kind of process, and then once you kind of made your mind up.
So a little thing about the book was that it was not a book of rainbows and butterflies. It was a story of everything that could go wrong, did go wrong, and sometimes disastrous and almost life-threatening. So What I got out of it was, though, Roz Savage, thank you, love you. She bounced back, she came through, she triumphed every time. And I was doing these fist pumps while she overcame this adversity or this challenge, the broken oar, the no comms, the no water maker, you know, and she just kept bouncing back. And I'm like, holy shit, I want that. Yeah. So, and I'm not the most imaginative, creative person. So I thought, I'll just copy her. I'll mimic her. I know I love the ocean, right? I just spent 2 years with Tony on board Tactical Directions in the Bahamas and got a taste of this other world. Remember, I'm removing blinkers. So that found me in this new world where I'm actually saying, gosh, this is just a different world. So thank you to Tony for introducing me to something outside of my box, you know, which I was so desperate to get out. So it all came at the right timing. Universe delivers things at the right time as well. So after reading the book and obsessing over the idea just silently, without mentioning it to a soul, and, you know, just re-flicking through it again and looking at her pictures, one day when I returned from living on the ocean and I came back and tried to re-establish and restore my normal life, remember, it all just got too much. And I just said to myself, you know what, if I don't do this, I'm going to die wondering. And that's when Claudie got the call. It was May 2016. Guess what I'm going to do, girlfriend? She says, what? I'm going to row across an ocean. So as crazy as it sounded, to me, it was coming, man. This has been brewing for 2 whole years. It was like Chinese torture. It was like a dripping tap.
You got to do it.
You know, I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. Imagine rowing across an ocean. Imagine overcoming all those challenges. Imagine who I would be on the other end of that. So it was the most natural thing for me, but because my friends were hearing it for the first time, it was just crazy. But you know what? My friends always say to me, if anyone can do it, Michelle, you can. They've always had this unbelievable belief in anything that I say I'm going to do. So in the moments where I doubt myself, I just have a chat to them and I'm like, okay, cool. And sometimes that's what you have to do with that little birdie imposter syndrome, you know, that birdie on your shoulder telling you who you think you are. You're going to row an ocean. I just ring Claudie because she'd tell me, oh yeah, you got this. If anyone can do it, you can. Surround yourself with the right people.
Sounds very, very, very familiar. And there's one gentleman not too far away from here who's actually like that with me, Mr. Mario Becker, she'll be speaking to a little bit later. He's got that exact same kind of mentality. It's fascinating, and I'm the same. You wouldn't take advice, or you take advice from someone that's kind of been on that journey, or someone that's kind of taken that kind of leap, right? Like, never take advice from someone. With me, you set up your own business. You wouldn't speak to someone that's never made the leap, right? And it's, you know, so it's that kind of experience. But talk us through to the journey when you've mentally decided you kind of go, but like you say, you haven't got a boat. How about fitness, kind of preparation? Talk us through that whole kind of experience where you go, right, I'm doing it. Then how the fucking hell am I going to do it? Like, talk us through.
So my mind immediately went to, I just need to speak to someone who's been there and done that.
Yeah.
So I Googled Australians Atlantic Ocean Row. One name came up, and it just made perfect sense that I would send a message. Thanks to Facebook, social media, all this sort of stuff now, it's so easy. And I just sent a message to him saying, hey, how do I become part of this phenomenon? Where's your boat? Is it for sale? Can I buy it? Where do I start? Any tips and advice would be greatly appreciated. He wrote back to me saying, oh, happy to help. Do you want to chat? Oh, by the way, I just sold my boat. I'm like, what? So anyway, I call him and it's like, what do you mean you just sold your boat? Where am I going to get a boat from? There's none for sale on the show. He said, that's right, there's none. He said, you're better off building one. He said, are you a rower? I said, no. He said, have you done...
like Lego?
He's like, okay, well, that's no big deal, minor detail. And as it turned out, he was an ocean rower. He was also a surfboat rower, competitive surfboat rower up and down Australia's coast. You know, he'd done that for years. He was a rowing coach. He was also the fastest male in the world to row 1 million metres on a Concept 2. So important to note that, because that is what I learned to row on. So he suggested, how about you, he said, I'm happy to help. You know what? He said, if you're fair income, and first of all, he actually shot me down with I just thought, you negative prick. Because he told me how difficult it's going to be, how many people are going to let me down, they're going to overpromise, they're going to underdeliver. What, you think it's going to cost $100,000? He said, try 2. He said, you'll need a budget of closer to $200,000 to do this. Your life's going to have to stop because you're going to have to just put everything into this. You don't even know how to row. So he said, you're going to have to learn to row.
Minor details.
Like, you know, all this. And when I hung up from him, I just thought, you fucking negative prick.
Yeah.
For a couple of days, I moped around, and then I'm like, hang on a minute, he's done it. He's no one special.
Yeah.
I'm back on the phone. So I'm like, hang on a minute, man. You're not the only person in the world that's rowed a freaking ocean, you know. So you can help me or you can't. Anyway, he became lots of things. Yep. He wore many caps. He became my rowing coach. I bought the machine, sat in my living room. He came down for a weekend. And you know, after I sent him a video saying, yeah, I can row on a concept too. We use these at the gym all the time. He looked at me rowing and said, oh dear, you need some help. So very encouraging. So he then suggested you should do the 1,000,000 metre. And I'm like, what is that? He said, become the fastest woman in the world, get a world record on the concept to row 1,000,000 metres, which is 1,000 kilometres. And I said, well, what will my life look like? If I commit to that, what's it look like? He said, well, you've got to own the machine because of the amount of time you have to spend on the machine. It's going to be a 7-day-a-week program, 2 sessions per day. Yep. He said the program is written so that you don't really have adequate recovery, so you're always in deficit. And he said it'll probably take you about 6 months because you're not a rower. So you've got to go through all the physiological adaptations to become long-distance stamina endurance, to learn the techniques so that you can avoid injury. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I stuck to the program, and 6 months later, set the world record during the International Championship, rowing champion at Penrith Regatta Centre, and took almost 11 hours off the world record held by a German Olympic rower. And it's part of my story. It's really part that I love to stress because I was not a rower. I was not elite. I'm not an athlete. But because I did the work, because I followed that program without compromise, without negotiation, I believe that's why I succeeded. So that's one of my messages is if you put the work in, on the days especially that you don't feel like turning up, that's where it counts the most. And there were so many days I did not want to get on that fucking machine. Yep. And I tripped over it because it was in my lounge room. I had no lounge, I had no furniture, I don't own a TV, and that thing was my life for 8 hours on a Sunday, 6 hours on a Monday, and every other day of the week. Plus I ran a business as well. I still had to maintain my business and massage my people. So everything was very physical in my life. But again, this was a good training ground because I'm preparing to row an ocean. I've got to be able to row 12 hours a day for 70 days, you know. So it was all really great ticking boxes for preparation.
It's like a bit more than ticking boxes. So world record, knocked 11 hours, kind of off it. So you've come through this. I got onto the kind of the mental aspect. So now it's kind of time to kind of make it happen. So you've got to build the boat.
Yes.
Kind of talk us through the next,
so that
next
was,
kind of phase. And more the mental kind of, so once you'd done that, did you feel as though you could just take on anything?
Oh, look, that was building and swaying. So you're in and out of, it's like a roller coaster, it really was, because there's so many times the red carpet would get dragged from underneath me. You think we're kicking goals here, we're on a momentum, yes, and then all of a sudden, phew, that red carpet got dragged from underneath me. And again, the universe delivers divinely. It intervenes, and I needed all those knockbacks and setbacks to practice getting up, dusting myself off. You know, how serious are you at wanting to do this? Are you willing to overcome these challenges? And if you're not, you are not worthy of being out there. That's how I read all these messages. That's how I took them. So in the end, it was like, just give it to me, because I know I've got it. If I can't get up and bounce back from here, I ain't going to last out there. So the boat build was with many challenges. We had to sack the builder, so we actually appointed a boat builder, and then I would turn up, and my intention was to get very involved in the boat build. That was an epic fail, so we took the boat off the boat builder very early on. It was just not even a completed empty hull, and we basically had to redo everything that had happened. We had to grind all the glue out. So my coach, my rowing coach, that was now wearing the cap of boat builder, because he was a very capable can-do man. He also wore the hat of campaign manager, because don't forget, he's already walked this path and he's willing to help me and part with all his knowledge. He also wore the hat of my boyfriend. Okay. So together I would fly up to Brisbane every weekend and like put on overalls, and I'm sure I was a thorn in his side and a pain in his ass, because I was like, give me something to do, I need to learn how to do this stuff, you know. So sanding, fairing, feathering, grinding, all that sort of stuff I got very familiar with. Again, very, very valuable for when I'm out there in the middle of the ocean. And that all fell apart. So before the boat was even finished, it was just basically an empty hull with a few fittings and fixtures, and shed loads of engineering that had to happen for this to even be able to be launched. And Andrew decided, I'm done, see you later. So ladies, I do say, diversify your risks. Do not put all your eggs in one basket, okay? Again, it was a valuable lesson. But the universe delivered divinely at the right time, because I was letting him make all the decisions, every decision. I was leaning on him so much that I think the universe said, it's time you step up, girlfriend, and I think it's time you become captain of this ship, because when you're out there and shit hits the fan, you're not going to have him to fix all this stuff for you. Yeah. So again, it had to happen. It was perfect. And then I had to become very resourceful. I had to, how am I going to get this boat finished? I don't have the skill set to do it. So I went to the Hills Men's Shed, and I said to them, hey boys, I know I'm a girl, I know it's the men's shed, but hey, I've got this project and I need guidance, I need you guys to come in and help me, and I'll bring the boat here every single day. You've got a great car park, it can go right here. I said, you've got the knowledge collectively, you know. So they took me on as a project, me and my boat. They assigned me 3 guys who then...
Love it. Where was this?
It's at the Hills Men's Shed at Walkham Hills.
Okay, cool.
And I was there for about 4 months actually, in the car park every single week. They, taught me so many things. Reverse parking my trailer. They were my moral support. They were a sounding ground for all these things that could go wrong. What you reckon I could do if that broke? What could I do? Well, Michelle, you could cut a big piece out of your boat right here, and then you could use the glue and the tape that you got, and you could make shift. He said, look shit, but it'd work. It'd get you across. I'm like, so they, did all this like troubleshooting with me, scenario playing. I had a great time there. I loved them. And then, by the time I put that boat in the shipping container, I didn't even have enough money to get it home. So I talk about just commit fully, man. Put it all in and the universe will deliver. On the nth hour, sometimes that's okay, but I have a now knowing that whatever I need will arrive.
So you've got every reason there to pull the pin, right? Like multiple. But you kind of get going. It's like we talked then about getting to the start, or you actually dropping the boat. And everyone says the hardest part of a marathon is getting to the start line. So talk us through. You've kind of overcome. You've got there, and it's time to kind of set sail. What was that like? Oh,
so actually, on the day that I was the day I flew out, my father died very suddenly. So I get a phone call from my brother saying, Dad's going in for emergency surgery. We don't hold much hope. I'll call you back. Then he called back and he said he's gone. So in that moment, I had to make a decision to stay, go be with my brother, my sister, my mum, and go through the shit show of a funeral, or go to the start line. Because if I went to the funeral, that's the end of this. This is not happening this year. I will miss it, and my boat will be sitting in La Gomera at the start line waiting for me for next year. And then I just had this voice in my head so clear saying, Michelle, don't you dare stand over a hole in the ground crying over me. You get out there and you row that ocean. So I rang my brother back. I said, I'm going to go. I'm going. So I got on the plane that afternoon, still trying to process, what had just happened. So suddenly, no warning. And no one expected that to happen. And the 2 weeks at the start line before I took off from the shore of La Gomera was a bit of a daze, I have to say. I felt like I wasn't really there. I missed meetings. I missed, because it was a lot of scrutineering happening. It was a race. So my first ocean was a race, the Atlantic to the Silversky Atlantic Challenge. And I was just in a daze. And even rowing out of shore, knowing that, I'm not going back. This is the first time I'm actually going to lose sight of shore, by the way, because all my training around Sydney and Sydney Harbour, Pittwater, I'd always come back into the marina every day. It was lovely,
Bit different.
I could holler if I needed a tow because the wind was pushing me into the land. I could just bat my eyelids and throw a line and someone would come and collect me. No more of that. That's not happening. No safety net. This is it. Shit's real. So that was also a very, very surreal moment for me, going, oh my God. I remember laughing, giggling, going, holy shit, this is it. Oh my God, I'm not going back. And then I turn around and all the other rowers had gone in a complete different direction to me. And I'm like, oh my God, do they know something I don't know? So I was the second last vessel to be crossed across the start line. There was 28 boats. They were all either a 5-4 pair, a trio, or there was 5 solos.
Yeah.
So as I'm rowing across, I'm seeing everyone go over there, and I'm like, I'm marked to go this way with my weather router. We had discussed this. We had a game plan. And it was, Michelle, you will head due south for at least 40 miles before you even think about heading west.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, oh my God, what do they know that I don't know? Shit, should I just follow them? And I had to remind myself, no, we've been through this. We have a very good reason why I'm doing this. So again, that was a real big challenge to not just follow the people, and thanks to Tony.
What a metaphor for life.
Yeah, stick to the game plan, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, there you go. Atlantic Ocean. By the time I got to the start line, I just felt so worthy of being there. The work that had gone in, the challenges, the disappointments, the setbacks, letdowns, all of that, the financial burden, the financial strain. I just was like, I so deserve to be here.
Cool. And what was next?
So you come back
Just
from
stop
that. Well, of course, while you're out there, you're thinking about rowing another ocean.
Obviously.
So I talk about be careful what you think about, right?
Yeah.
Because I planted that seed on day 46 of 68.
Yep.
I GoPro'd myself saying, imagine rowing another ocean. Imagine the Pacific. And I say, nah, that's a big one. You haven't even finished what you've started. Well, there you go. Planted the seed. Fast forward now to 2020. It's COVID.
Yep.
We're going into lockdowns. Michelle goes into meltdown. Again, it forced me, this moment in time in history forced me to analyse my life again. So I'm now doing another analysis. What do I value the most? It came up crystal clear, my freedom and adventure. And they're taking it from me. They were taking it. So I was very angry with the world. I felt no desire to comply. It didn't make any sense to me. I had this very deep vibration and an intuition. My intuition said, you're not taking part in any of this, Michelle. So I used all that anger to fuel my preparation for the Pacific. So the Pacific was row for freedom. And when you commit to these sorts of things, it's much, I think your chance of success is far greater when you are emotionally connected
100%.
to the cause, the purpose, your why. My why was so strong. So Row for Freedom was the campaign, and I used that time when we were in lockdown to go to Guildford, thanks Joe, Fibre Marines, for allowing me to come in every day and climb all over my boat. Together we refined and tweaked, simplified my boat. So thanks to all the lessons that I learned on the Atlantic Ocean row, my first row, my maiden voyage, my boat's maiden voyage, we were both very green and naive, and it highlighted all of my strengths and weaknesses, most of my weaknesses, thank you. So it gave me the opportunity now to do it better, and that was what was also driving me, was, oh my God, imagine if I did this, this, this and this, and if I didn't have that, and if I didn't have to suffer with that, and blah, 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 imagine I can have a much better time. So I also felt that I owed it to the boat. You know, by the time you build a boat, massive input, massive research, resources, energy, money, let's just go and do another one, man. You know, so there you go.
As you do. So you've done the Atlantic. So in total it was 300 days. So it was 200 plus days on the Pacific?
Pacific Ocean from Mexico to Australia was 240 days.
So I've been on your boat, and I was quite gobsmacked because I thought it was the boat next to it, and I realised this is actually a frigging rowing boat, right? And I'm going. So talk like it's insane the mental stability framework that you must have. 200 days alone, right? Like dealing with the adversity. Just yeah, what was it like? And I mean, because here's the thing: you've clearly explained. You throw yourself into challenges, again, metaphors for life. There's always going to be shit that happens, right? It's how you deal with it and keep kind of moving forward. My kind of people. So, what was that whole kind of experience that was like? And you've got no Wi-Fi, or you're not connected to people, which sounds absolutely fantastic. So, just walk us through that whole kind of that journey.
Again, thank you to the Atlantic highlighting my weaknesses, which was lack of mental preparation. So I really focused on building a mental toolkit for the Pacific Ocean, for the isolation that I was going to be in for the extended period of time. It's 14,000 kilometres. It was going to be up to 360 days, anywhere between, So I started to seek out methods that was going to build my toolkit, and I came across the silver ultramind control method, and I made the phone call, told her what I'm doing. I'm going to need a program that's going to allow me to heal my body, because imagine you get appendicitis out there. So I go through all these drama queen scenarios. Imagine if I get appendicitis, okay, yes, earache, toothache, that's one thing. Maybe I break a bone out there. Oh, get appendicitis. Oh shit, now we're talking life-threatening kind of shit. I need to be able to heal all this stuff. So that was on my list. I started making a list of what do I want this toolkit to have. I want to be able to overcome the depths of despair that I felt when I was rowing across the Atlantic with isolation. I wanted to overcome the anxiety that I felt when I knew a storm was bearing down on me. That feeling of anxiety, I've never had anxiety in my life, but that feeling of the elephant on my chest, I can't breathe. I'm like, oh my God, I don't need that anymore. So I just need a toolkit. I just need some techniques. And this method is basically dynamic meditation. So I went and did the 4-day course. Janine from Silver Method Australia, she was, without hesitation, she just said yes. Yes, Michelle. She goes, and by the way, what are you actually doing? I said, well, I'm going to be rowing across the Pacific Ocean. I need to be self-sufficient. I'm going to be isolated. The International Space Station will be closer to humanity than I will at some points in my row. So I need to be everything. Imagine I lose comms with the world. I need to know I've got everything within to handle the anxiety, any depression, any despair, fear, the fear of the unknown, because there's a lot of that out there. And I did the course. It ticked every single box. I still use it today. I love it. Then I also got very well acquainted with the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, and Bob Proctor. So they all became my mentors, as well as when I really needed a kick in the pants, it was David Goggins. So they were all on my listening material, okay? I built my listening material with no crap. I only had essential things to listen to, and that was all those authors, all those mentors. They're all quantum physics people who, made me believe in a higher self. And I just bought it hook, line and sinker, and I applied it. It works. And I don't know why we're not teaching it in the schools, why are the kids not being equipped with, the benefits of breathing, the benefits of meditation, the benefits of getting rid of all of those distractions that they're so addicted to, and just going within.
And I know you had your ukulele.
I took my uke. Yes, I did.
That was great.
Yeah, I used to just strum away, and that felt so therapeutic, just to do something different to rowing,
Yeah. And what was, well, I know it's a loaded kind of question. I remember you saying that when you got back to land, And you came into Port Douglas? Was that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, Port Douglas. What was that like going back to, because you've had, and it sounds divine, all this noise is kind of blocked out, right? And then it's like bang, the phone kind of comes on. What was that kind of adjustment like?
Yeah, I struggle with that, and it's not something that I do any prep for. So I probably suffer more than I have to because my resistance was so strong to coming back to the demands of first world. So I don't want to sound hypocritical because I love standing at the kitchen sink with unlimited running water. I love having a fresh, big, fluffy towel every day and putting on loads of washing and all these extravagant things, which when you're out there, these things are very extravagant, but here we take them so for granted, right? So whilst I wanted all that and was loving it, I was also resisting, having to look at an email box or having to answer a phone, having to conform to moving around with the people in the Monday to Friday. I had to go back to work, and just being in that, I felt, I remember just going to Coles for the first time, which took 4 goes to actually walk in and do my shop. I walked in, walked out, walked in, walked out. And then finally my flatmate said, Michelle, there's your list, you need to go and do it yourself. I'm like, okay. So, but I remember that first time walking in under those fluorescent lights, the fake lights, with whatever they play on a loop over the sound system, which I don't think I was ever even aware of. And then looking around at the people just moving so robotically, mindlessly, I was like, oh my God.
Don't get me started.
Because I had just come out of 240 days of unlimited time and space. And I was just in the raw beauty of Mother Nature, and I operated in perfect harmony with the going down of the sun, the rising of the sun. Ate when I had to, fueled my body accordingly to the demand of the output. Felt amazing, and here I am back in, being in the car. Everyone drove too fast. Everyone drove too close to each other. I'm like, oh my God! So it was like boom, boom, boom in my head.
So what's next? Because you don't strike me as someone that's just going to sit on laurels and put her feet up. What's next?
So of course I'm plagued now by the notion of another ocean, and that would be the Indian, because that will complete my circumnavigation for me, actually. So it's the missing link. It's from Western Australia to South Africa, and I know my boat. I love my boat. Of course, I want to do things differently again. I want to do it better. I never want to struggle for power in my life again. I never want to have water rations again. So, I will plan very differently. I've already got my mental toolkit. It's good, man. I don't even need to do anything there. So I can invest my time into now refining the boat. It needs a complete overhaul. It's done 2 crossings. She's showing her age. Technology has changed. It's improved. It's more efficient. So I need to rip every item off. Every fitting, every fixture, every hatch, every solar panel, battery, wire, AIS, GPS, everything's coming off. We're starting again, and I just need my team to stay with me, which is Roger Badham, my weatherman. I've already made the call to him to say, hey, Rog, can we just talk about the Indian? And he goes, Michelle, you told me when you were out there to remind you're never rowing another ocean again. I said, but that was then, this is now. Can we just talk about... So Rog said he'd say yes. He said yes.
Brilliant. And what advice would you give to anyone that's feeling stuck or doubts themselves or whatever, thinks that things are just, I can't do that? What advice would you give to anybody?
Choose your heart. Don't die wondering.
Don't die wondering. I think I'll have to end on that point. Thank you. I could listen for a long time. It's fantastic. I love the mindset, everything. It's just such an unbelievable story, and the fact that even when you took this on, you just went in, literally left in both feet, right? Don't die wondering. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the next instalment. So.